I think what happens, it's the same in all of us. We get to that point where if I can't control it, I'll stay busy to pretend it's not happening.
Myself with everything.
Worry about my paycheck.
Yeah.
And I'll control the parts of my life I can control.
Yeah.
And, okay, I get it. There's some, credibility, credence, whatever to that. But in essence, if you do that and you deny the fact, then you're not helping yourself. You're actually building inside of yourself a pressure cooker that eventually is going to blow.
Yeah, because in contradiction, last week I actually said, funny enough, I think we need to actually step into our bubble, and I mentioned exercise for me is something I feel like I can control. So that was an important element for me in being able to step back and cope.
But that's not a denial.
But I'm using it as a technique to gain my energy back.
To empower yourself, not to deny yourself.
And I'm not denying the facts of what are in front of me, because that might somehow come between my, pretty little life.
Yeah.
I actually need to acknowledge the facts, and I am, but because it's so strong in me, I actually have to pull back and then use those other things to regain the strength to continue the fight. Yeah. Seems like a contradiction, but it's actually not. So long as you're awake, it really is about waking people up. I feel like, because lately I've been doing a bit of gardening in our house, and lots of landscaping and stuff, and I feel like sometimes it's like I create such a mess. I'm thinking about the mess that I did out the front recently when I was weeding and pulling out and replanting and everything. Honestly, at halfway point, it looked like it looked better when I first started. I may as well have left the junk there. So it really is about. But then at the end, the pretty picture at the end, it was worth it, right? So I feel like it's really worthwhile. You just have to get your rake in there, upheaval everything, know that it's a mess, deal with all the mess bit by bit.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen when these people wake up, when we're trying to wake them up. They've got to deal with each little element bit by bit. There's going to be a catastrophic mess in their life and in their head for however long that process goes. And then as you start to replant, start to flatten the soil down again, the weeds are gone, things start to smooth out, and there seems to be a bit of zen about the garden again.
It does take time though, doesn't it? But I think that's the trick. People follow peace. Nobody wants to live in the turmoil. Yeah. So the alcoholic doesn't really want to be an alcoholic. And when everybody around their life is calm and moving forward, then they stop and self-reflect, hopefully, at some point. Yeah. And I think we can use us as an example. We met at the Freedom Rally, and without detail, Melissa was going through some things, and I remember texting her. And I'm texting her, and I'm texting her, and I'm trying to basically say, hey, wake up, hey.
But my
and it
cup
gets
was
a bit
full.
too much, right? You were comfortably numb.
Yes.
I think that was the word when we were driving. You actually said, I'm numb.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I said it to you. You're numb. And you're like, yeah, I am. I'm numb.
And there was admission.
So there was. And I kind of, in the end, after crossing the line too far, trying to say, hey, wake up, I kind of back off a bit. And then 9 months later, we reconnect, and in
my own time, I had to deal with my own weeds and gardening and stuff. Yeah. Once the garden was all right, then I could move on to the repotting. That's the way I see it, honestly.
And now we've reconnected after what? It's probably been nearly a year. Yeah. You're a normal functioning.
I'm normal again.
Well, I didn't know you before. I only knew the weird one, the numb one. Yeah. But you've come now to being a personality that's connected, even nailed, empathetic and flowing.
Always
in
been that way,
things.
but I was just a bit clouded, And I feel like we can take that whole example, what you're talking about, such a good analogy, with waking people up. Sometimes it literally, and it was with me, because when COVID hit, I wasn't immediately awake. I was one of the fearful ones with the mask.
Yeah, okay.
So that was a good...
Hard to imagine you with a mask.
I know, right? Now a warrior, once was in fear. I literally was. And I didn't want Eva or my husband walking out the door unless they had a mask on. It was crazy because I was busy watching mainstream media. So I was fearful. But, little by little, it was seeds that were planted by people around me. And I think sometimes if we're smashing people... We all have a different role to play in this awakening journey for other people, I think, too. Yeah. So some people, remember we spoke about it last week, some people wake with whispers. Yeah. And some people wake with slaps on the face. So there's a person for all those
Some people wait with car crashes.
Right. Well, yes, this happens too. Yeah. But I think if we don't be afraid to plant seeds in people. Don't jump the gun and think it's a 100-metre sprint and we have to wake everybody within a half an hour conversation, because it's just not going to happen, because there's so much indoctrination in people.
So you're talking to me now, right?
Yeah, there's so much indoctrination in people that it's a gradual process, and I know with me it was. Yeah. It was. He spoke to me, she said something, then I read something that didn't make sense, then I experienced something that didn't make sense. So they were all little triggers. So I think if we can plant seeds, that's probably the best thing. You know what?
The Bible says one sows, another waters, but God causes the increase.
Mm-hmm. That's really relevant now.
As we put into people's lives, we sow, we water.
Yeah.
You know how many times I've put a seed and then I've tried to cause the increase?
Yeah.
And all you do is you make an enemy. People hate you then. It's like, this guy's so intense, he won't leave me alone. He's like, what is the problem with him? I think he's in love with me. I think he hates me. I think whatever it is.
Well, maybe you were.
I don't think I even know what love is anymore.
Honestly, that's true. We can jump the gun, and I think sometimes I go back to social media because I admit to spending so much time on it, because usually it comes down to...
So now we've got the confessions out.
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time because I'd spend a lot of time sharing information, planting seeds.
Yeah, me
but
too,
sometimes
really.
I see the fights brew up, and I think to myself, we'd do better if we all on this side of truth and knowing what we know, we do better to honestly continue the conversation on social media, on those posts with our fellow members of truth. Continue those conversations in a uplifting, positive way. So lift the frequency and the vibe, and just let them peter up, because we're not even acknowledging the crap that comes from them, you know what I mean? We're actually just continuing on with it, and that in itself will become a seed that gets planted into these people's heads.
You're right, but have you noticed in life, people will always be attracted to a positive before a negative.
Yeah.
And so the government is negative. Mm-hmm. Everything about them is negative, and people aren't stupid.
Really?
So the more they pump out the CBDCs, the this, the that, the this, the that, people are going, hang on a minute, this ain't right. Now, if we're there fighting it, you mongrels, you bastards, rah, 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 we're the same energy they are.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there and saying, that's disgusting, it shouldn't happen, but here's the answer.
Yeah.
The answer is, we're going to be off grid while we're in the grid. Yeah. We're going to live this together. People are going to be drawn to where there's peace.
Yeah.
But when we're part of the problem, we're feeding the psychopath.
We're feeding that negative vibe, negative energy.
We're not helping wake people up.
No, we're not. That's the end game, right? That's what we're talking about. We're not evolving ourselves either, and it's detrimental to our own spiritual, mental, emotional well-being.
And let's take it to a really basic example here. If you've got two relatives living next door to each other, the husband and wife in one house scream at each other, fight, yelling, you know, all this
carrying on.
In the other house next door, there's peace.
Mm-hmm.
And people are there, and they've got the same issues, the same bills to pay, but they're in it together, they're working together to get somewhere.
Yep.
Now you come along, you haven't seen these relatives in a while. Which house are you going to want to live in?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I'm not going near the one with the yellow.
That's the freedom movement. It's the yelling of like, you mongrel, you bastards, you this, you that, you this, you that.
Yeah.
You don't listen to me, you never listen. It's just a nagging woman in the corner, from a man's perspective. The Bible says you're better off living in the top of a house on a rooftop than in a house with a contentious woman.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Because when women get it in them and they lock on, and I'm talking from a man, and I'm getting myself in a lot of trouble here, I know.
You will, and you are, and I'm just going to smooth the waters there, because I have to go back to the social media yelling and screaming that I'm saying we need to calm it down, calm the farm. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of really bitchy men.
That's true.
When it comes to fighting over, you know, being pro-vax and that sort of thing, the men are definitely, you know,
and
pulling their weight.
But the men get locked onto one thing, and they get bitchy. And someone will listen to them and go, are you even a man?
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck are you doing?
Well, that's my thoughts. When I look at that, and, you know, there's been a couple of trolls that I've seen on certain things, I just think to myself, it's to me, as a woman, I look at that and actually think it's worse than hearing a bitchy woman. Because from a man, we want you to be masculine and come across strong, and you're the protectors of the family and of the community and the society and everything. And it's just so unattractive, but it's also very detrimental and